Hey everyone, welcome to the AB Deep Stems tutorial channel. Today, I'm super excited to walk you through a full breakdown of one of my original tracks. If you're new here, this channel is all about music production tips and tricks with a focus on Ableton Live. So if that's something you're into, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. In today's video, we'll be deconstructing one of my tracks titled Pray For Me. I'll be taking you through how I built it step by step, including the drums, bass line, melody, and effects. Along the way, I'll also share some tips and techniques I use for sound design and arrangement to give your tracks that extra edge. That's a little preview of what we'll be looking at today. Now let's dive into the project file and start from the beginning. I'll be covering each of the core elements of the track, starting with the chords and melodies, drums and percussion, bass, and finally showing you the effects and automation that bring the whole song together. I'll also explain my approach to arranging the track and keeping things interesting for the listener. If you're interested in specific parts of the song, check the timestamps in the description to jump to the sections you want to learn more about. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future tutorials, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, let's get started. Let's dive into the project file for this track. I'm working in Ableton Live 12 Suite, and as you can see, the project has 14 tracks. The key of the song is F major, and I've set the tempo to 120 BPM, which gives it a nice, steady groove. Before we get into each individual element, let me first walk you through the overall structure of the song so you can understand how it all fits together. The song starts with a long intro, which runs from bars 1 to 32. This section sets the tone of the track and gradually introduces the main musical elements. Next, we go into the chorus, which is 16 bars long. The chorus introduces the main hook or theme of the song and really brings in the energy. After the chorus, we move into a saxophone solo for 16 bars, which adds a fresh melodic element to the track. We then return to another 16-bar chorus, where the main theme comes back in full force. After the second chorus, we go into a bridge for 16 bars, which creates a nice contrast and takes the song in a different direction before bringing it back. Following the bridge, we hit a third and final 16-bar chorus, maintaining that familiar, energetic theme. Then we move into a guitar solo, which also lasts for 16 bars. The solo adds a new dynamic and melodic flavor, taking the energy up a notch. Finally, we end the track with an outro that stretches for 32 bars. This allows the song to wind down gradually and gives it a smooth conclusion. Now that you've got a good sense of the overall structure, we'll go deeper into each section and talk about how I designed the individual tracks, starting with the drums. Let's jump into that. Let's start with the first track, which is the drum MIDI track. For this, I used Steinberg Groove Agent to handle all the drum sounds. The drum pattern runs consistently throughout the entire song, starting from measure 8, laying the foundation for the track's rhythm and groove. It's got everything from kick, snare, hats, and cymbals to percussion elements. I find Groove Agent really flexible for creating detailed drum sequences and layering sounds. For this song, I used the loop presets called Vegas Scene. Then I applied to Groove Agent the Ableton Saturation audio effect Roar, which adds a lot of strength to this drum section. At the end of the plugin chain, there is Isotope Relay, which is connected in the main track with the Isotope Neutron Visual Mixer to set volume and pan. Next up, we have the Melody MIDI track, which uses a Serum preset from Melodic House Essential Vol. 1 that I purchased from Splice website. The instrument is indeed Serum, and this track plays a central role in both the intro and outro sections of the song. It helps set the emotional tone of the track early on and brings everything to a close. This melody was played live using my Novation Launch Key 61SL MK3, which is amazing for real-time performance and its tight integration with Ableton Live. After Serum, you can see in the chain the Ableton compressor sidechained with Groove Agent EQ8 to remove unnecessary low frequencies, and again the plugin Relay. Moving on, track 3 is a MIDI guitar track. I used the Ample Guitar LP instrument here to create the guitar solo that appears in the middle of the song. Just like the melody, I played this part in real time using the Novation Launch Key, which made the recording process really fluid and intuitive. With Ample Guitar LP, you can see in the chain the compressor with sidechain, reverb, delay, EQ, and the relay. Track 4 is the bass line, another MIDI track, this time using Ample Sound ABPL2. The bass provides the low-end energy and groove, locking in with the drums to give the track that essential foundation. The sound is using the Ableton arpeggiator, the compressor, and the relay at the end. Tracks 5 and 6 both use Serum as the instrument with Ableton's arpeggiator effect applied to create some interesting rhythmic and harmonic patterns. These arps are really key in adding texture and movement. The arpeggiator is a powerful tool for creating complexity without having to manually program every note. The instrument configuration is completed as usual by compressor, EQ, and relay. Track 7 is a MIDI strings track, also using Serum, but this time with a lush string preset. This track provides harmonic support by playing the chords that underpin the melody and help fill out the arrangement. These strings add a lot of emotional weight, particularly in the chorus and bridge sections. Compressor, EQ, and relay in the instrument chain. Next up is track 8, which is a piano MIDI track. For this, I'm using Scalar 2, a powerful tool for generating musical performances based on chord progressions. I've set it up to take the MIDI chords from track 7, the string section, and Scalar 2 is providing dynamic piano performances based on those chords. This is a great way to add natural variation and complexity to the song's harmony without having to manually compose each piano part. Scalar 2 makes it easy to experiment with different voicings and styles. Tracks 9 through 14 are audio tracks, all using sounds sourced from Splice, which is an amazing library of samples and loops. I've used the Splice plugin to audition and adapt these samples during the composition process, allowing me to match them perfectly with the song's tempo and key, which is F major. Splice's library is vast, and it integrates really well with Ableton Live, making it simple to experiment with different sounds and find the perfect fit. I've got various elements here, including textures, vocal chops, sax solos, and other sounds, each one contributing to the depth and mood of the track. In particular, for the vocal track 9, I used also Nectar 3 to improve the voice quality and presence. Now that we've gone through the individual tracks, let's dive into the mixing process and how I treated each section of the song. The goal here was to create balance and clarity while enhancing the dynamic flow across the intro, choruses, solos, and outro. Let's take it section by section. In the intro, we have a relatively minimal arrangement with the focus on setting the atmosphere. The key elements here are the melody track. The drum track starts later, and in the second part of the intro, strings and piano are added. chorus, the drum track comes in with a different presence and fills. Vocals provide the theme of the song. Sax solo, the focus shifts from the chorus to the saxophone. In the bridge, the arrangement pulls back a bit. The focus is on creating tension before we move into the final chorus and the guitar solo. For the guitar solo, I used a combination of EQ and stereo delay to give it more presence and separation from the other elements. I also boosted the higher frequencies slightly to make the guitar cut through the mix. Just like with the sax solo, I used a light reverb to place the guitar in the same virtual space as the other instruments, while still allowing it to take center stage. Finally, the outro brings the energy back down, the initial melody take over again. Now, let's move on to the main track, which is essentially the final mix receiving input from all 14 tracks in the project. Once all individual tracks are balanced and processed, I route everything through the main track where the final touches are applied. This is where we focus on achieving a professional, polished sound. The only automation I've used in this track is here on the main track to gradually reduce the volume and create a smooth fade out at the end of the song. This automation ensures that the outro transitions naturally to silence, giving the track a gentle, polished ending. In the main track, first I use Isotope Neutron's visual mixer to handle the overall volume and pan balance across all the tracks. This tool is really powerful for visually arranging your mix. You can see all the elements of the mix and position them in terms of width, panning, and depth, volume, without needing to rely on your ears alone. It's especially helpful for ensuring that each instrument has its own space in the stereo field. Using the Mix Assistant, the tool listen all the song and automatically proposes the volume balance for all the tracks. Once I'm happy with the overall mix, I move to the mastering stage using iZotope Ozone 10. This is where I finalize the track to ensure it sounds great across all playback systems, whether it's on studio monitors, headphones, or speakers. In Ozone 10, I typically follow these steps. I use the Ozone Assistant to have a first configuration of the Ozone tools, and if necessary after that, I use a slight EQ low-end cut to remove any unnecessary sub-bass rumble and a high-shelf boost to add clarity and air to the mix. I apply multi-band compression to control the dynamics across different frequency ranges. This helps to tighten up the bass while ensuring the highs remain crisp and controlled. A touch of exciter is applied to add subtle harmonic distortion and warmth to the mix, especially in the mid-range where the melodic elements sit. Finally, I use the maximizer to ensure the track reaches a competitive loudness without sacrificing dynamics. I aim to preserve the natural transients of the drums and instruments while achieving a clean, powerful master. Throughout the mixing and mastering process, I also use Ableton's Live Spectrum tool to keep an eye on the frequency distribution. This tool gives a real-time visual representation of the audio spectrum, allowing me to see if certain frequency ranges are too loud or too quiet. For example, I can check that the bass sits comfortably in the lower frequencies, around 50 to 100 Hz, while the melody and piano occupy the mid and high ranges without clashing. This visual feedback helps me fine-tune EQ adjustments during both mixing and mastering. And that brings us to the end of this song deconstruction and mixing mastering tutorial. We've gone through all 14 tracks, looked at the structure of the song, and broke down how I approach the mix using tools like iZotope Neutron, Ozone 10, and Ableton's Live Spectrum. I also showed you how I used automation on the main track to smoothly fade out the song. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content on music production, mixing, and Ableton Live tips. Feel free to drop any suggestions and questions in the comments section, whether it's about the track, the plugins, or anything else music-related. I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future videos. It would be great also to have your collaboration to improve the song arrangement. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.